Hey, okay, YouTube says we're live. Let's play the gamble of whether we're actually live. It's like a weekly thing of like, is it working? Is it not? Hello, hello.
Seriously, no.
Well, it
says
showed
we're
up on,
live.
yeah, it says we're live
Yeah.
on mine.
Hey, okay, right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Trek Central's Episode 2 Star Trek Picard live stream. Wow, it feels like we've been doing this for a couple of weeks now, but no, we're back. Star Trek Picard Episode 2 aired on Thursday, or Friday if you're an international viewer, and wow, what a great episode. Anyway, today I am joined by my regular host, Mr. Ketwolski. How are you doing?
Great. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you very much. I'm also joined by special guest and Trek Central host, Brie. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm good.
Excellent. So today we're going to be discussing everything about Episode 2, everyone's favourite moments. We'll be taking some questions from a chat, so feel free to get them in there. Let us know what you thought of Episode 2. Ask us any questions, feedback, whatever you can come up with. We'll be discussing that. We'll also be speculating a bit on Episode 3 towards the end of the stream. So if you don't want any spoilers about Episode 3, we'll give you a warning towards that at the end of the stream. We did get a new trailer yesterday showing us a little bit of a heads up for what's coming for Picard. So it's looking pretty cool. But just a heads up, as you noticed by the giant red spoiler thing, if you haven't seen it already, this will contain spoilers for Picard Episode 2 and 1. It's a given. Don't watch it if you don't want spoilers. Anyway, should we get into it? Episode 2 was called Maps and Legends, and wow, this was a very good episode. I personally, the one moment I have to speak about, and I've been tweeting about this a lot, and everyone may have seen this, is Irish Romulans. I want more Irish Romulans. Cheeky feckers, give us more.
I love I love her. Laris is the best. I just want to talk about how amazing she is.
I've been seeing like so many
Wow.
different things, like CIS Laris now. She's got a like Telstar detection device going around
Yeah.
the room. Like, yes, I want more of this.
I was gonna say I already put my gamble down. I was like, I want to see an entire show with her and Zhaban, like, Tal Shiar operative time. Like, I would love to see a show just those two.
That'd be
Yeah,
fantastic.
when she yelled at Picard and her husband, and she's like, "No, idiot, we're not going with him, and you can go with him, and you can die together." Like, I loved it. I know, obviously they're not going to be in the the majority left of the show. Hopefully they don't die in the next episode. I don't think they're going to do that, but I know they're not going to be in the majority of the rest of the seasons, but this season's episodes. But I wish they would come back for more because they're great. They had some good screen time in the first episode, but this one they killed it. They were on screen most of the time with Patrick. I loved it. Yeah, their interaction was great.
I really liked that sort of like, husband and wife dynamic that's going on. It's like a typical husband and wife like argument. It's like, idiot, you can go with him. And I tweeted it earlier. It's like, and you can take that one with you and get out of the house. It's like, you can see this like sitcoms before. It's hilarious. I love it. I want more of it.
Yeah,
My
that's-
first
yeah.
handler got drunk. My dad. yeah, that's good.
I loved it. For anyone who's commenting about issues with YouTube, it should be okay tonight, but just refresh if you are getting some issues. I know it's a bit of it's YouTube doing those things again. So, I guess one of the big things we can jump into is the Borg Cube. We get to see a bit more of that, and also a bit of an idea about the Romulans or the Zhat Vash, whatever the group currently controlling the Borg Cube is up to. And, yeah, it looks like they're salvaging it and earning a profit from it somehow or in some way. But it looks like they're helping the Borg, who they're calling the Nameless if they don't identify the species. I was just wondering, Brie, what did you think about the Borg Cube in this episode? Because we did get to see a lot more of it.
So I really liked it. One of the things that I saw that, and they kind of zoomed in and made it a focus, was that the Borg that they did disconnect were helping with the reclamation specifically. Like, they were definitely utilizing them in some sense, and the Borg cube looked super good in this version. If I'm being like, I like the way that the visuals look, but I don't know. I don't know what it is that they're doing beyond that. I have a lot of theories, but
Nick, I'm sure you're full of theories as well. I can see you sitting away there.
I know I saw him like rubbing his hands. Like, oh god, so many theories.
Yeah, it's so. We do know that the creators and the writers spent some time with the guys who do the Star Trek Online series. They spent some time talking with them, and obviously the Romulans, the Imperial Romulans, not the Romulan Republic, but the Romulans spent some time jacking around with a cube. Things went wrong. Couple of them got assimilated. There was a couple of other plot details there, but that was something that did occur in the game.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're kind of getting a little bit of that here. Now, what specifically they're doing, I do believe that they are not doing this out of the goodness of their heart, number one. It's not very Romulan. They're not doing it to save any of these people. I think that they're saving these people, like de-assimilating them for a specific purpose. And we saw one of them, at least one of them, working on the cube. So I think their intention is to pull some technology out to gain a bit of a profit. But the other one, in my opinion, is to get that thing in working order so that they can actually use it to fly around and do different things with it. I don't think they're going to use it to assimilate people, but they're looking to probably get it back to functioning order, just to probably strengthen their hand, because after the loss of Romulus and Remus, they probably feel like they don't have much of a power left in the quadrant. So
definitely,
it makes sense that they would want to do it that way. Now, how they got all of those scientists, it's not clear, and hopefully we learn a little bit more about that. How they got them
I was curious about that part too. I know that she had said that the Trill scientist, that she was on a I forget what she called it, but something had gotten revoked.
Yeah,
right. But she had said some kind of thing had gotten revoked. But as someone who is in the field of science and does do research, the only thing I can assume is like people are giving grants. Like that would make the most sense to me, because that's how, at least today, things work. And so it would make sense that I forget what they called it, but they didn't say grant. But if that had been revoked, that would. My assumption is that they're doing some kind of grant system or some kind of incentive for people to come out there. But I don't know what that incentive is.
For me, I just love, like Nick mentioned, the connective tissue, and I know I've been told off using it too many times, between Star Trek Online, and now we've got it in the comics as well, how it appears the writers have, and the designers obviously, and the whole, like, you know, people behind Picard, have taken elements of what also the books, but also Star Trek Online as well, two very big things in the extended canon of Star Trek. I mean, you know, since 2005, we didn't have any future of Star Trek when Enterprise went off the air, so the books and the game became, you know, the future of the 24th century. That was our entry into it, because then we had Discovery, which gave us a look into modern Star Trek, but not past Nemesis. So the books and Star Trek Online gave us that look. So it's very cool that Picard and the writers and people behind it are almost not fully utilizing it, because that would be a bit too much, but taking hints and references from it, such as Romulans messing around with Borg tech. We kind of got that impression from the first trailer, that Romulans, they stuck their hand in something. It's probably not bit from just yet, but you can almost feel it might come. And obviously the Verity as well. I had to bring it up. Sorry, Nick, I know. But the Verity...
I know you love that thing. I know.
Show us it in episode 3, you cowards. But yeah, it's like that connective
hopefully
tissue.
We'll get to see it.
Well, you know, we'll talk more about episode 3 later, because I'm dying to talk about it for certain reasons. But yeah, a couple of people are commenting. They've been on a queue for many years. Yes, this is one thing you noticed in the episode. There was that sign, and you guys might have noticed as well, that said, was it 5,800? It was basically 5,800 days since assimilation, which translated to roughly about 16 years ago, which would have been just around, or just before 2385. The exact date escapes my mind. If anybody knows it, feel free to comment. So that cube's been around for a while. Whether the Romulans have been on it for the whole time is very, you know, interesting. Whether the Federation knows about it, I don't know. It is quite interesting on what the whole deal is here. And I think we're going to explore more of it as the episodes go on, because episode 2 gives a big chunk of lore. It's almost like they're just, you know, regurgitating up, like, here you go, sort through this and good luck.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I talked about this in my review, that a lot of the promotion material and the discussions that some of the production team were doing referred to the Borg cube as the Borg prison cube. And that's what we saw a lot of signage and postage about online. But now in this episode, they referred to it as the Borg Reclamation Project. And I'm curious to see if, what I'm thinking is what's going to happen, and this is, you know, kind of leading in this direction, which is they're reclaiming these people, they're putting them to work on the cube, but they're not letting them leave the cube. And they are essentially being held there against their will. This is kind of a theory of mine. And that's where the term prison cube came from. And then they're going to work to try to hopefully bust them out of there.
And this is kind of what I touched on as well. We see Hugh in the Borg cube, and we know he's in there.
Right.
Episode 3, we'll talk more about later. I'm dying to. We know Hugh's going to appear with Jonathan Delarco. So what his position in there, and we spoke about this in our video, whether, you know, he's actually in charge of it or something, or whether Ron was like, yeah, you're in charge. Not really, but yeah, you can have the title and walk around all fancy, but, you know, we're the real ones who hold power. Because it's clear in episode 2 that they own, or at least operate the Borg cube, and have some sort of level of ownership over it, which obviously means the Borg technically are their property in a way, I guess. I mean, there's obviously a big moral discussion to be had there. But who the hell's running it? One topic people in the chat are bringing up at a minute, and which we can pivot to, is the Nameless. And obviously Soji speaks to the Nameless Borg, which, for anyone who doesn't know, when they don't know a Borg species, they would call it Nameless. I mean, I personally thought the Borg cube might have had a computer on board that stored that information, but I guess not. So they're calling it the Nameless. Now, Soji managed to speak to one of these Nameless in its native language. Well, it's implied that anyway. So, I don't know, what do you guys think about that? There's definitely something else going on there, isn't it? How she knows how to speak in that language of someone the Romulans can't identify.
Yeah, I had to pause and re-watch that part like 2 or 3 times the first time I watched it through because I wasn't sure one what the race was, and then after we did our little breakdown, I realized that we didn't know, and that's what really piqued my interest. That second time I watched it through fully, and I don't know. I would love to know why, because it's not like previous androids have had the ability to just automatically get some kind of like innate knowledge about some. I don't know. I have a theory, but again, I think that my personal theory is that there's some kind of serious connection between the Borg and the like Daj's sister and Soji
Right.
and all of them. But that's like my little harebrained theory. But that's the only way I can think that she would have any kind of knowledge what races were which.
Yeah, that's.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely something. They don't just have this Borg cube there for fun plot elements, because if they wanted to bring the Borg in to be like this, they would have brought the Borg in as a threat, and they've obviously done it in a different way, which is cool and unique. But I don't think it's just there as like a simple set. I think that there is a specific reason that she is there, that this cube exists in the story, and that they're working towards some kind of connection between how they got. I think that there's going to be something about how Maddox was able to make a Soong android plus and go beyond what Soong had, and I think that's probably going to connect a little bit to the Borg in some form or fashion, possibly to do with the fact that we have seen from First Contact that there wasn't a capability to apply flesh to Data. She did that to Data on his arm and on his face, and he could feel like from it. And I think that he's going to maybe take some cues from however the Borg Queen did that, and maybe kind of use Borg technology in some way. I don't know. It's interesting. There's definitely something there, though. I don't know what it is yet.
See, the other reason I really think the Borg are involved with the android creation is because so often in lore you hear the Borg mention how they view AI as this almost perfect being. Like that's why a lot of those Borg that got disconnected followed lore. So I think the idea of Borg helping AI is not too far off, especially as much as they, I don't want to say revere, but almost look up to the perfection of AI.
That's an interesting one. There's been a lot of chat about lore at the moment. Like people's like, "Where's lore? Did Maddox use lore? Something like that, or have the Daystrom Institute been using lore?" There's a lot of discussion around it. Will we see him? I have no idea. I mean, a lot of people theorizing that random bloke in the trailer could be him, but I'm not sure myself. But I don't know. You brought up a very good point there, like the Borg using flesh. That is a very good point, and that escaped my mind. But that's a good one, the Borg somehow, or the Borg Queen at least, used flesh to, modify Data. It was a bit eerie. I'm just remembering that face in my head now. Ooh, that was creepy, that was.
Yeah, let's not even think about where she got that flesh
Oh, no.
I'm just saying, Ensign Lynch needed his forearm skin for something, and she just ripped it right off. It's disgusting, but anyway, sorry.
This week on the Borg channel, we talk how we did this. Oh,
I love the Borg, though.
Someone's skin on his face like a murderer.
So I guess one big thing to speak about as well is Picard's visit to Starfleet HQ. I don't know if any of you two have been to the Anaheim Convention Center in LA, but once you've been there and then you see Starfleet HQ, it's like, it's really not that much different, to be honest. Like, but I forgot to mention it in my review, but having been at Anaheim Convention Center for VidCon and various other events, and I'm back there this year for Star Wars Celebration, it's like, none of this building really looks like it is from Starfleet in 2399. It's like, they just changed the reception desk slightly and put a hologram of the US Enterprise D. But anyway, the Admiral conversation, that was a very interesting one. We learned a lot more about stuff there, and also her colourful metaphors, should we say. That was an interesting one. What do you guys think about that?
You go first.
Okay. So the first time I watched it, it was, as much as I love Picard, it was hard for me to watch her yell at him like that. Like it put a little bit of a pit in my stomach, but it was a really good moment. It's just that they wrote it so well that it was hard to watch her yell at him like that, if that makes sense.
No, that does. It was shocking. But I thought it was good. I thought this sequence was played very well. I liked the fact that she got angry with him, because in all honesty, like, we're on Picard's side, obviously. but
we have
from
all the facts.
Right. We have all the
Yeah.
facts, and we want our hero to succeed. But from an outside perspective, looking in, he doesn't have a lot of evidence to support his claim of what he's trying to get at. Like, there really isn't much. And, the fact that he pissed everybody off with his little interview, yeah, it's bad timing. But at the same time, though, her motivation for being mad at him wasn't just because he was old. We see that a lot in movies where they're like, you're old, you don't know what you're talking about, just get out of here, But the motivation was, I thought, very realistically played. And I think if she had just gone along with it, I thought that would have been too weird, where like his buddy went along with sending up the certification that he was fit to service. Like, it was cool. Like, okay, some people are helping him, but other people are like, no, like, you're crazy. And I'm not just going to give you a ship and a crew so you can go do something somewhere. Like, no, I'm not going to do that.
The point there.
And that's right. Like, you wouldn't do that. Like, that would be weird.
Right.
So I thought it was great. I thought the sequence was great. And I don't care that she cursed at him.
Her point
Oh,
is,
I don't
like,
either.
what like stuck out to me, because I've been reading a lot of the backstory of the Countdown comics, is she said the specific line of, like, how we'd entrust you with a ship and lives under your command. Or she said something along those lines. Someone in the chat might be able to...
Men and women, you think we're going to give you a ship of, like, with men
something
and women?
Like that. Basically, she's saying, you think we're going to entrust lives to you under your command.
Right.
That line there links to what, or for me, it links to what's been said in the trailers by Raffi, where it's like another off-the-books rescue mission or Black Ops rescue mission. It's like, has Picard done something worse than what we think he's done? Because so far it's been painted that he basically threw his toys at a pram, said, no, I don't like what Starfleet are doing, I'm going to resign. And they went, yeah, sure, okay, bye-bye. That's kind of how it's been painted, and that's why, people aren't too happy with him and his outbursts on the Federation News Network. But what if there's some underlying issue at hand here, especially with this Black Ops rescue mission? It was referenced in one of the trailers, but hasn't been referenced since, if that's still in the show, because the trailers do modify stuff. So it's like, I don't know, I feel like there's something else going on here. I don't know. There's something there.
I agree. I think that there is a missing piece to the puzzle. We don't have all the facts yet.
I mean, we're starting to see things come together with Mars, aren't we? So
yes, definitely with Mars, but there's definitely more there. Something happened to where we don't know how Raffi and Picard had a falling out, because in the comic they're best friends. She calls him JL. They are clearly very close to each other. And something happens in that short period of time that makes her hate him.
Pull a gun on him. Yeah.
Pull a gun on him, tell him to get
like,
lost.
You have to do something terrible.
Right. So I think that there may have been a loss of or something, that maybe he made the wrong choice or something like that. Or I don't know. I am interested to see what happened between the two of them. And there's definitely something else that has occurred. I don't think it was a situation where he maybe caused the life of a bunch of people, because they would have been playing that up. Clearly he has guilt over what happened with Data and the fact that they didn't help the Romulans. But I think if it was like, if somebody died, like a bunch of people died under his command, I feel like they would have probably touched on that a little bit already. Like that interview lady from FNN would have probably thrown that in his face about, remember when you lost that ship with 100 souls on board? She would have definitely done that just to...
I'm just trying to rack my brains for what's caused Raffi and JL, what she's calling him, to fall out. Because I say in the comic, which is set in the year 2385, they are basically best friends. I'd say they're on more of a better friendship level than like Picard and Riker were. I wasn't of the history, but you never saw, Riker walk in and go, hey, JL, Jean-Luc, how you doing today? He would have been kicked out of that ready room. But here, Raffi's walking in, calling by the nickname and everything. And they have a very good, close working relationship. And probably in an only short amount of time. We know Picard left the Enterprise D in the year 2381. So by 2385, he's commanding a new flagship with Raffi as his first officer. And then 15 years later, in 2399, they're not together anymore and they've fallen out. Something's happened in those 15 years, which has caused a massive falling out. It's not like they just, walked away and didn't speak to each other. You don't pull a gun on a man you've not seen in 15 years. There's something gone on there, and I have a feeling it's a little bit bigger than just, Picard storming out of Starfleet. I think, and I'm going to make a personal speculation here, I think he attempted a rescue mission of some sort on his own, or something at hand. That's what I'm thinking, and the Verity was involved, and he might show it on screen, just a guess.
Any reason to get the Verity?
Any reason.
He wants that Verity.
Give me the Odyssey class.
Yeah, what happens is that he gets Raffi to rig up the computer to work off of a small terminal, and then they get on board of it and steal it out of space dock, and then another ship tries to...
I'd be happy watching that. If they want to remaster it, go for it. Thank you to everyone in the chat, by the way, who's commenting, everyone. Maybe Adam's dreams... Oh yeah, the illness. That's a good discussion point, isn't it? Is it Uramic? How do you pronounce it? Uramic syndrome or something?
The aromatic syndrome.
Yeah. So that was brought up, and when I was watching it in the morning, and they brought it up, I was like, "Ooh, those cheeky feckers! Can't believe they've done that." And also, it's a big callback to the Next Generation series final, All Good Things, when we learn the future version of Picard has developed this, and some are comparing it to dementia and stuff like that. It's a condition which is causing a lot of stuff in his body. While in this episode, it's not concrete confirmed he has it, but it's implied he could have it, and that could be one of the many syndromes that is caused by this parietal or defect in the parietal lobe. They've left us on a bit of a cliffhanger of that one, because the doctor who conveniently served him on the Stargazer flat out said, I hope whatever that in their space maybe kills you rather than you, succumbing to this illness. And that's quite a heavy thing to say, to be honest, to somebody you served with before. So what are your guys' thoughts on that one?
I thought it was interesting they didn't actually call it the Uramic syndrome. They stopped just short of saying it, and he even said it could be a number of syndromes, but Picard still acted like he knew what it was. I mean, obviously we as longtime fans of the shows know what it is.
Oh yeah.
But I thought it was interesting that they didn't bother to say it, and I think that was probably a conscious choice for some reason, but I don't know why at this point. But I don't think it's going to kill him. I think something's going to happen where they cure him. I think something's going to happen where he gets cured.
I don't think he's gonna get cured. Me and my brother have talked about this for a while. Like, we've said this a little too many times in our little racking each other's brains of what we think is gonna happen. He is convinced. I'm not as convinced as him, but he is very convinced that now, even more so with episode 2, that this show is gonna end with Picard dying. That way, it truly makes it so he's not going to be brought back in any other aspect. Like, the actor will never be brought, like, if that makes sense. Like, it's the actor even separating himself, just like a lot of other people do. Like, they say, kill my character off. That even happened with Leonard Nimoy. He was like, yeah, I'll be in I'll be in Wrath of Khan if you kill my character off. But then he backpedaled. However, I don't see that happening here. I truly think that the show will end with Picard dying.
I hope they don't do that. I can accept it if it's good writing, but I will be pissed off very much.
I think it depends on how they did it. It would heavily depend on how they did it.
As long as it's not a lightsaber through the heart by his son or something, that could be a little bit too much. But
I think we should just let a giant bridge crush him. Okay, that's said it before.
You said this yesterday.
I did say this yesterday when we talked. I know. No, what I think is going to happen is, A, I think he's going to get cured, and B, I don't think he's going to die in the traditional sense. I agree that it'll end. The show will, whatever season it ends at, whether that be 2, 3, or 4, or whatever it is. I don't think he's going to die in the traditional sense. I think they're going to do like a thing. My opinion is they're going to do a thing with Q where he comes and he removes the aromatic syndrome. He removes his ailments, and then he just goes off on an adventure with Q. And that was the whole thing. The end of the human trial is that Picard becomes one of the Continuum, and he gives him the opportunity to live with him through that.
That's a very good thing there.
Final frontier, the next frontier.
Someone in the chat just brought up something interesting that reminded me. In one of the many comics and books which contradict the mainline books, Q came back and popped on the bridge of the Enterprise E and revived Data back to life. And I just remember, so a lot of people have been talking about the series, or season 1 at least, will end with Data being revived in some sort. That's a discussion point for us in a minute there. But you could almost imagine, episode 10, as things have calmed down, Picard sat on whatever ship he's on, Q just pops out of nowhere saying his typical line, hey, I'd love that if they did it. And we kind of have a theory that they have brought back Q at least in some form. And I do think, the trial over, that could be a great thing, because he does say the trial never ends in All Good Things. And what a good way to wrap that up and connect it with the Next Generation. They're connecting a lot of stuff at the minute with the Next Generation, whether it be season 2, season 4, 5, etc. So to connect it back to the last episode could be a very good way to almost go full circle. The trial never ends, or perhaps it did end, and now this is the next journey. It's something like that. And it's just...
The only reason I don't think they would end the show that way is because I think too many people would say it's too similar to the ending of Deep Space Nine. Because it's so similar. As soon as you said that, the first thing I thought of was what happened with Sisko.
True.
And they just left it at, he went and did the next phase of his development as a demigod, basically. But that's why I personally don't think they would end it in that sense, because I think too many people would see how similar it is to the finale of Deep Space Nine.
It's true. No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong on that.
It would be cool though.
It would be cool, but I agree that it would very much be like the emissary style ending.
Mm-hmm.
He's going off to do this other thing with these other high plane beings, and which would kind of, I don't want to say dilute that kind of an ending, but it would be like, okay, this is ground we've already treaded before.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Killing him is going to be very. I agree that I think he'll die. I think he'll die in the show. I do. I don't know if it's going to be.
I'm just going to go cry for 5 minutes and I'll be right back.
I know. No, it'll be more than 5 minutes. That's for sure. I'll be broken for the day, or at least.
I'll be broken for a while.
Yeah.
No.
Godfather 3 style, where he just falls over in his chair in the vineyard, and just.
Well, as number one is sat there. Like,
if that was the case,
if a dog starts crying,
I would crush him. I don't want him to fly off a cliff. I don't want that. They bury him above ground for the wolves to get his body. Yeah, no, thanks. Anyways,
well done, Picard. Great burial there.
Characters.
God,
they don't have the best history of how they kill off their characters.
No, they really don't.
Wrath of Khan. They did it right.
Well, yes and no. They fired him out in a torpedo, and then they showed off. In Voyager, they showed that was a bad idea because some alien species comes along and reanimates the poor bugger. It's like, what?
Tossing someone out the air, like the emotional way that they killed a character, they killed Spock, is, I think, the best way that Trek has ever killed off a character.
Mm.
Yes, I would say that was good, and as much as I appreciated bringing Nimoy back, it did undercut the emotional impact a little bit, because he came back in literally the next movie. There was no, and the title of that one was The Search for Spock. It wasn't like, and here's Spock. It wasn't like it wasn't like a surprise. It was, the whole fucking movie was about going to get teenage Pon Farr. That's. Yeah, it was a bit of an undercut. So they do struggle, I think. And not I shouldn't just say Star Trek, but a lot of, I think, franchises in general.
It's a complicated way to tell a story.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's how do you handle the death of the main character? I mean, we compare it to, Star Trek's main rival, which is Star Wars. I mean, ending Han Solo in The Force Awakens, that was a pretty bold move. If it's like, hey, look, we've got the old crew back, we're going to kill one off. Yeah. It's like, ooh, right. Maybe not.
Right. And there's really no good way to do it. I mean, even in this case, like, the show's literally called Star Trek Picard. So when you do it, like, that's the end of the show.
It's a high gamble.
And that's why I think it will be the finale episode.
Yeah.
Of season 1 or season 3?
Yeah.
Do you reckon they'll kill off season 1 or third season?
I'm hoping for a third season, but I'm not sure how much of the story, because I know Sir Patrick Stewart has said he's only going to do things that, like, he's not trying to dilute the series, if that makes sense. So I think they're going to end it when the story is worth ending. I don't know if that's season 2 or season 3. Personally, I hope it goes at least 3 seasons, but I also agree I don't want the story to start getting diluted.
Right.
I definitely think Picard is going to be a shorter little show than, say, Discovery, which we're currently charging forward with a lot more stuff at the minute, and other things are coming out. And to be honest, TV these days, does it need 7 seasons to tell a story? I think, once you've told a story, you finished it. Star Trek isn't like The Next Generation where, every week we're fighting with bigger alien. It's now telling a story across 10 episodes, like a movie. You don't drag out a movie if you need it. I mean, you can make sequels, but usually they're not as good. So it's like,
and the pressure isn't there like it was before, where everything needed to be, like, they constantly had to keep making more shows, more episodes, doing more things, and you had to worry about all of these television ratings in different markets and different times and all this other stuff. Like, the pressure isn't there, especially for Star Trek, where we have 5, 6, 7 shows in development right now.
It's quite a lot.
Yeah, it's crazy.
7 shows. So the pressure was on for Discovery to kind of get this thing started, but the rest of these shows are just one more, little bit of, addition to this, larger Star Trek mythos now, which is great in my opinion. But I think the pressure is to tell your story right, let people enjoy it, and then end it appropriately. And if people are clamoring for more, definitely don't give it to them, but that goes to show that you made a show that people really were attached to, which is great.
Maybe a new Enterprise series with an Enterprise F that Could conveniently be an
with-
Odyssey class. Just saying.
Are you kidding me?
No idea.
As soon as
Really?
that shows up, people are gonna be like, "Now give us the Captain War for the LaForge or
Yep.
whoever the hell is in charge of the Enterprise."
Beverly, where is Beverly?
Yeah,
Speaking
exactly.
of what you just said there, with Picard, I worry that if they said they killed him off in the end of season 1, I don't think they will do, because they know as soon as Patrick Stewart is going to stop in there, they're going to dip in ratings. And obviously, we don't rely on ratings traditionally like they used to back for Next Gen and Voyager.
Right.
I mark my words, I don't want to sound like negative Nancy here, but definitely there'll be a dip in it, because people are tuning the show for the nostalgia of Patrick Stewart. They could be banking on this new cast as very good. I mean, so far the cast is actually quite impressive. So they could be banking, hopefully people will gel to that new cast. I mean, Laris already, let's go a bit more of Roland McBrady, please. So, they could gel with the cast, and by episode 10, we're like, yeah, Narek, way, a lot more people, etc. I don't think we're going to do it in the first season. I just wanted to say that, because it would be too much of a gamble. They want to, from an investor purpose and from a business purpose, it would be very illogical, shall we say, to get rid of him in season 1.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
definitely
would agree.
agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 100%.
It would be the end of the show, and they've already confirmed a season 2. So
We know subtly season 3 is in development. People are asking about that. It's not confirmed. However, unofficial word is that the writers have been given they can start planning, but that's unofficial, and you should, take it with a pinch of salt. But obviously season 2 has been confirmed. We know it's going to air hopefully in 2021 at some point. If I was to make an educated guess, I probably would say it's towards the middle of the year, judging how things are going so far right now. I don't believe they've started shooting for Picard season 2 yet, have they? I think they're holding off until March, April.
Yeah, they haven't started shooting it. So my guesstimation right now is it looks like Section 31 may try to replace the Picard time slot that we have now for 2021, and then Picard will be the Discovery time part.
Which is some good spacing, to be honest.
Yeah, so you're basically going a little bit, about a year, honestly. It's going to be about a year from the end of season 1 to the beginning, almost a year to the day, to the beginning of season 2. Because I think they're going to stick Section 31 in between the Discovery and then the next season of Picard.
We are
Lower
now
Decks is
finally
there somewhere too.
We are in that sort of phase of Star Trek on screen all the time, really, although it's not literally on every 5 seconds. It's we are going through blocks of series. So once Picard's up, I fully expect we'll see an announcement about Discovery. If it's not already been announced, it's season 3. When that'll air, that's probably going to be anywhere from, I'd say, May onwards is my rough guess, probably June, July. Then after that, we theoretically should see Lower Decks. There's not been too much talk about that yet on how that's progressing. But obviously then in 2021, I reckon in January or late January, early February, right off the bat, Section 31. Then we'll do Picard, then Discovery Season 4, etc. And we'll keep going like that. Where they fit these new shows in, no idea. But it's going to be a very busy couple of years. And, if Picard's doing 3 seasons, we've got another 2 years of Picard, everyone. Strap in.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I do like the spacing. It's nice to when you finish a season, you don't have to wait a whole year to watch more new Star Trek. It's nice. It's nice to have a buffer.
It's good to have a break, to be honest, because
it's each show is hopefully going to have a very strange tone shift in a good way. Picard's going to be these character-driven shows, and we're already seeing it. It's wildly different in tone from that of Discovery. And then when they go to Discovery, it's going to be the larger sci-fi spectacle. And then we're going to get Lower Decks, which is going to be a funny animated show, which we've never had before, and then we'll be into Section 31 and then back to Picard. And I don't think it's going to be an overload, because I think they're doing it right so that everything is a bit tonally different, so that it feels like you're watching a fresh new show each time, so that you're not getting exhausted with it. Where if you're making a Star Wars movie, they can only be a swashbuckling epic adventure. That's what they're doing right now. They can do more, but that's what they're doing right now. So if you keep making those, people are get kind of tired of them after a while. So what they're doing with Trek, I think, is smart. I think it's going to work out.
Just a quick one. Amir, thank you very much for your $5 donation. What if a synth attack was caused by Section 31 in order to force the Federation to abandon the Romulans for the best interest of the Federation? That's a very good comment, and I've seen a lot of talk about Section 31. Personally, I don't hope they're involved, but I think Brie's got something to say on this matter, so I'll hand it to her.
Well, Tom can confirm this. As I was up watching the second episode when it aired at 1:30, 2 a.m. my time, because I do that I'm just that person.
Okay, for it.
I stay up. I sent him a message right when the big reveal happened about what was going on. I was like, so what, does Section 31 basically run Starfleet now? And before we got, the confirmation of who was really, but I mean, the Vulcan.
Yeah.
Is she part of them? Is she part of the Tal Shiar? Is she part of the Zhat Vash?
Zhat Vash.
Yeah,
Yep.
you're.
Zhat Vash.
That's a good.
You got it. You nailed it.
Yeah, like, or is she just like Enterprise, where just someone like a Vulcan allies with the villains? I don't know, and that's what I'm excited for. I want to know what her deal is.
So we did learn more about Commodore O. Commodore's a weird rank to bring back as well. Star Trek hasn't used that one. Last seen in Enterprise, that was before mainline Star Trek. It was typically seen in the original series.
Right.
Also in the movies, you had Commodore Decker. Actually, sorry, that was in a series. I'm thinking of Matt Decker. So yeah, Commodore O was revealed to be a Romulan. It's hinted at in both the Ready Room, which is the After Trek style thing, and also the Deadline official Picard podcast, where Alex Kurtzman said they're all Romulans, and also the makeup department said the makeup that's on Commodore O is Romulan. This could be a red herring, but I think two sources and your head of Star Trek saying that she's a Romulan, it's kind of a giveaway. I think she's a Romulan. And obviously we've known from Enterprise that Romulans like to disguise themselves as Vulcans. And we see this in the Next Gen as well. I always remember that Vulcan ambassador who got delivered and it was like, actually I'm a Romulan all along. So yeah, it's that scene was very interesting there. Nick, what did you think about this? Commodore O revealing that she's somehow alluding to this, Zhat Vash plot.
So here's the thing. So maybe we'll get into a little bit more back and forth here, because there was two things that I actually didn't really too much about this episode.
Mm-hmm.
One of those was the Zhat Vash. I'm not a fan of it right now.
Okay.
And the other one is the relationship between Narek and Soji. And I think, and this is where I'm at with it currently. I think that I'm pretty confident my opinion will change by the end of the show, because we're going to get way more information about both of these things that I just named. The thing with the Zhat Vash is I hate the idea of more clandestine organizations running around. Not that I have some kind of like, that's not what Gene would have wanted. That's not my thing. It's just, I'm just like, okay, like we already have these. We don't need another one. I think it would have been fine just to leave it Tal Shiar related or not name it at all. I think would have also been good. The idea that the Commodore is involved with it, I like that. I wish that they hadn't revealed that just yet, but obviously I think we'll figure out kind of why. Kind of like in Undiscovered Country, where Cartwright, was like really against saving the Klingons, but he had good reasons for it and he had a valid thing for it. And it wasn't until the end that they really revealed that he was a part of this whole plot, and we had to kind of uncover, that he was, part of that whole situation with the assassination and all that. And I wish that they had kind of put a pin in that just for a little bit, because it kind of ruined some of the suspense, but that's okay. Again, that's how I feel right now. My feelings will probably change by the end of it, because they're going to do a really good job of unrolling all of these things.
Definitely.
It's interesting that you guys are like, they said that she was Romulan. They said that she has Romulan makeup, but Narek's sister looks human. So they clearly changed her physical appearance. So I immediately thought that this isn't even what Commodore O actually looks like. That's the way I thought.
Maybe she's someone else.
Right, that she actually looks different. Maybe she looks even more Romulan than we're letting on. Maybe they did remove some of the forehead ridges and things like that to make her look more Vulcan. I thought that she was also going to be
just a quick one. Thank you to Stan for Liberty for the super chat donation. He says Star Trek Picard is what Star Trek was meant to be, centered on the characters and the story, not flashy space battles. Yeah, I guess it's a matter of opinion. Some would agree with you that space battles are what they want to view, but some like character focused stories. But yeah, as you were saying, Nick.
No, you're good. I want both. So
yeah, I want a big space. I want some sort of battle.
Both.
I mean, we know in Picard so far that, judging from the trailer, they're going to go up against this old star Romulan warbird or bird of prey, but one of them, bird of prey.
It's a Tuvaro. Yeah,
that's one. Yeah, so they're going to go up against it at some point. It looks like the last Serena, which I think we're meeting in episode 3, and we'll touch on episode 3 in a memento. So the last Serena is going to go up against it with like a smaller type of ship. I mean, perfect. I all want to see like a big starship rock up, Federation starship, and taking shots at something. I mean, I can think of one type of starship I'd like to see, but we won't go down that road. I think I've mentioned it about 50 times so far in the last 40 minutes. You get a point. We all want to see it. Come on now. But yeah, I like the way Star Trek Picard is going so far. Some people have commented on the pacing, and I think that may be because a lot of people are used to the pacing of Discovery, which I think you guys might also confer. Discovery's like, yeah, right, now we're doing this. Boom, that's blown up. We're doing that now. Yeah. And it does have its moments where it's character focus, but arguably Discovery is a faster paced show, and some other shows have been as well, whereas Star Trek Picard is slowing it right down and focusing on the one character on our screen at a time. What do you guys think about that?
it's interesting you say that because, and maybe Brie, maybe you had this feeling as well. I felt like time did something strange to me while watching this second episode. It felt like the episode was only 5 minutes long.
Yes.
It felt like it went by really fast.
Yep.
And I was actually like upset that we were already over. And I was like, what? I know there's not enough. Like, I want more. Like,
now,
I don't know.
I will say the reason I think that they revealed that the Commodore is part of this plot right now is because I think they're setting it up for something way more they kind of already said, we don't want to lose her as an ally. She's been good to us, but I think she's just as much being manipulated in this sense. And I think that's what's going to eventually be revealed, which is why I'm not too upset that they revealed she was part of it, because I think that's going to be dropped in after the halfway point in the show, just how much she's being used. And I think she might even realize it.
So you're thinking, and I think that you're right to say that. That's why I say like my frustration is like, and I mean this much frustration of it. Like,
anybody. But I feel you on that. Because it did make it seem with all the stuff that happened in this episode, compared to the first one, at least in my opinion, a lot did happen in the second episode. So it did make it seem like a really short episode. So I agree with you. It was like 1 second I'm watching it and then it's over.
On the note of Commodore over, as you just mentioned, I feel like something else is going on here. We're seeing a lot of like stories, tiered on stories here. We've obviously got the story of a Borg key, what's going on there. We've got Picard's own personal adventure. Now we've also got Starfleet and Commodore O and what they're up to. Then also we've got Rizzio and her mission with Narek buried under that. We now know they're related, and whether Narek's whole fabrication of, I had a brother but we magically lost him, is actually real or not. So there's something going on there, and I'm liking this. I like stories which aren't predictable. For myself personally, after reviewing and watching so much sci-fi content and video game content, I can usually tell the ending of a story a mile away. Happy to say with Picard, I physically don't know what's happening. I'm sat here going, how the hell do they do what the, trying to draw the line? Is that like meme and gif of the guy analysing everything? That's me at the minute with Picard thinking, where can this possibly connect? And that's a sign of a good story in my opinion. The fact we can't predict it.
It's like that Always Sunny meme with all the strings connected to each other. Like that's the show. Like
Brie,
it's trying to find anything connected.
You've just predicted for weekly TC meetings. That's what they're like.
That's it.
Neither have a whiteboard going, I'm telling you.
I agree. It's all I wouldn't say all the theories, but you can gain a lot of the big strokes for certain things just based off of trailers and what we're seeing. Like you can kind of figure out a little bit, but overall, like what the hell is happening is still a huge mystery. Where did the androids came from? Why did Maddox make them? What's going on with the Borg? What are they doing with the reclaimed Borg people? What happened with Raffi and Picard? What happened with the androids? Why did they attack? Like, there's so many plot elements. Who are the Zhat Vash and what is going on? There's so many things. Why do they hate synthetics? We haven't even talked about that.
Yes.
And that's why I have no issue with them bringing the Zhat Vash in. I think it makes more sense for there to be an organization within Romulus that no one really knows about. Like because the Romulans are as a whole so secretive that it would make sense in my eyes to have an organization that even most of the Romulans don't know about. Like as secretive as they are, I think it makes sense for there to be some high tier like Illuminati stuff going on.
My only concern about that. Do you want to go first, Nick? Or
sorry, go ahead.
I was say
So one thing really quick with that is I definitely agree with what you're saying there, but you saying that makes me feel like Kurtzman did that intentionally so that if he made it the Tal Shiar, people were going to complain about how he was affecting the lore.
The lore.
This is what I was about to say.
And that's why I agree. I think he did that for that reason. Because then they would say, oh, well, then this, like they said, is that on par with the Tal Shiar, and they're like
in the past.
I guess the continuity effects of that is actually standing out a lot more. I mean, personally, bringing up the Zhat Vash, I felt it slightly undermined the Tal Shiar, because for eons now we've practically known the Tal Shiar are the secret police of the Romulan Star Empire, and now whatever's left of it in the Romulan Free State. I hope this doesn't undermine them, because Tal Shiar are made up to be these ruthless people that dragged people out in the streets and had them shot, basically. That was kind of what we were told. So I hope this doesn't undermine them. Now it's like, oh, actually, it's these guys all along. But speaking of synthetics there, obviously we spoke a little bit about the attack on Mars. Through episode 2, opening shot, we've now seen more of the actual attack. From Children of Mars, we saw it from a different POV, but we've not actually seen it firsthand from the people on the ground's point. We also saw the new ships up in there. They look great. I'm sure we'll see more of them at some point. Also saw the new shuttle as well, which is actually been seen before in Star Trek as a McCall class from the Enterprise-E's Ship of the Line calendar. But let's specifically speak about the F8 androids as they're being nicknamed. That thing, hell yeah, was a bit of a
nerd.
What the fuck?
I say that with my Picard.
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, I know. Anyway, sorry.
TC's doing the fashion choices this week. Ketwolski has come wearing the lovely branded Picard sweatshirt. He'll be modelling this one all week.
Yeah, I'll do a runway walk.
In the episode with Hugh, we did on Monday, or not Monday, yesterday, I started speaking about Hugh's fashion choice. I'm like, we should really open a fashion department for TC. I was like, Hugh is stylizing and wearing the traditional executive director outfit. I'm like, I've turned to Gokwan all of a sudden. What? Anyway, synthetics. Let's talk about them. But before we do, $2 donation from John. It says, what happened to Remus? I think it's safe to say it's presumed destroyed along with the Romulan home planet of Romulus. No distinctive confirmation of that, but if one planet went, I can guarantee you probably the whole system went. But synthetics. Nick, do you have anything to say about the F8 androids and what they were like, for example?
Yeah, I first off, I love that scene.
Yeah.
I want more. That was one of the things that stuck with me, is that was almost a short trek within itself. It almost felt like part 2 of Children of Mars in some regards, in a good way. And I want more of that. I loved it. They did a fantastic job with making the android, like telling the story in a very short period of time, like the relationship between the humans and the way that they were treating the androids, and that the androids were not as advanced as clearly as Data and lore and even B4 in some regards. They seemed even worse than B4, and just because they didn't really understand certain things. And they did a fantastic job with that, and I loved it. The fight sequence was great, and I just want to go ahead and throw a shout out to whatever costume or production designer that said, hey, let's put the armor over our security guys like they had in the motion picture.
Yeah. And
they have it in Discovery too, but like putting the armor over their security guys, I appreciate it. I think it was cool. Awesome. Even though it does nothing and they died immediately. I appreciated it. So I love that sequence though. Why they went bad?
I do too.
Don't know. Couldn't tell you yet. I have no idea. My only theory connects to lore and Maddox and lore right now, something to do with that, but that's still shaky. I have no real solid answer yet.
Yeah, it's someone's coming like Dead Space vibes when he picked up the laser thing. It's like, oh, that was a bit brutal.
Yeah.
It's like, But yeah,
I loved it.
That whole scene. A lot of people saying that F8 stands for fate. So yeah, that's a bit of a red herring there almost. It's how convenient for one with fate on it suddenly turned evil and shot the entire place up. Bit weird, and then hacked into the defense grid. Now, we still haven't seen the entire fleet be destroyed. We see a lot of attacks on the ground. We don't see like the ships blowing up or anything like that. Whether they're saving on a VFX budget, or we are going to see more of this, which is what I suspect. I don't think we're done with the attack on Mars just yet, in my opinion. I feel like there's more that needs to be seen there. For starters, how do these synthetics get hacked? And, who's done this? That story is obviously a big underlying one there, and it seems to be setting up, if anything, it's the overarching story of Picard. The Federation didn't help the Romulans because the original fleet was blown up. So therefore, there's a bigger story here. I want to see that. I think we are going to see it. It would be foolish to not see it. So yeah, it's a lot of discussion around that one.
So my thing is so maybe you guys understand this a little bit better, is it's not clear to me 100% if this was the first fleet or the next set of fleets that were supposed to go and help with the evacuation. Maybe you guys have a different opinion.
I read the countdown comic last week when we discussed this.
Right.
I think there's already one. They're doing a fleet in like blocks, I think. So it's like 1/3 of it is already left, and it's probably out there with Verity right now, evacuating people as we speak. The second one was mentioned at the countdown comic of it's like on its way. If Dom was here, I'd get him to reference it. But I'm pretty sure by the time of the Verity and also Children of Mars, the second wave was ready to launch, essentially. That's why we almost see them in orbit. In orbit, I think it's safe to say, those ships look like they're ready to go as soon as someone gives the word. They're docking up there, the tugs are ready. It looks like it's about to be sent out, and there's quite a lot of ships there. So I think the Federation evacuated some Romulans, but I think the the big evacuation probably never went to plan or worked because most of the fleet was destroyed. And like the Admiral said, they didn't have the resources or starships to commit to a second wave. And when you think about it, to evacuate 900 million people or lives, that's a hell of a lot of resources. So no wonder they didn't have the resources to commit to it. It's, it's a lot to think about.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Brie? Do you think there was another fleet in there already?
So I actually did not pick up on that at all, but the more you guys talk, the more I think that there had to be at least one wave that left, because I feel like things would have been a lot more traumatic and a lot more deaths would have been said as, you know, I don't know. I really think that there was a wave. I think otherwise that death count would be a lot higher.
We see something similar here, and I just remembered the little clip we got, and we'll start talking about episode 3 if I was wondering. The clip we got yesterday of like meeting the characters of Picard. We saw Elnor, who's played by Evan Evagora, but also the younger Elnor, who is played by Ian Nunney. Now we see in the trailer there that the character which Ian Nunney plays, young Elnor, is portrayed. So most likely Picard went out and maybe evacuated a portion of young Romulans at one point. And also we know they are with these nuns. So I think it's safe to believe a portion of the Romulans and other life forms were evacuated, along with the Verity and such. So I don't know. There's something definitely going on there. But I think overall the big fleet was destroyed, and, you know, Federation we're not paying for another, basically.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on
so
that.
let's talk about episode 3, if that's all right. Did you have anything else to say about Nick? Or?
No, I know you want to get to 3. Let's do it.
No, it's fine. So episode 3, we obviously got the teaser trailer. I presume everyone here has seen it. If anyone doesn't want any spoilers for episode 3 or doesn't want to hear anything about it, now's your opportunity to turn away. We are going to be discussing about what we see and speculating on what we think will happen in episode 3. You've been warned. All right, 3, 2, 1, let's go. Right, straight off the bat, we're obviously meeting Raffi. We got a little bit of hint of her character in there. Before we do go into meeting her, we did get a little flashback scene, which you saw at the end of episode 2 of Picard, of him walking around in his countdown Admiral's uniform from 2385 when he commanded the Verity. Yep. So how many times can I get that word or that name of a ship in the stream, honestly?
It has to have been 30
I'm just going to ban myself from saying it anymore.
Take a shot every time he says.
That's next week.
The whole chat will be gone.
We'll get the Picard wine out and do that one. But yes, a flashback scene is here, and we see it with Michelle Hurd's Raffi as well. And she's got a different hairdo and everything. So yeah, another flashback scene. It looks like every episode might start with some sort of flashback scene. That's how it's looking so far. We've had 3 episodes, which have had... actually, episode 1 started with a flashback in a way, I guess you could argue. It was a dream sequence, but it was like a flashback, I guess. You could argue that. For the sake of it, we'll argue that
it was an establishing sequence for more background plot, so we call it flashback or whatever. But yeah, I would agree that was one. Yeah.
So I think every episode is going to start with a flashback scene, but at number 3 looks like it's starting with obviously maybe Picard outside of headquarters. Maybe when he told the Admiral to, here's your job, I'm off, and she went okay. Maybe that's going to start off of there, and we're going to see the other half of that conversation. Maybe that could be a good thing. I think seeing that conversation where Picard, says like, here's my rank, I'll be off, could be a good thing. I think Nick, you mentioned this as well about seeing that conversation. Do you want to talk a bit more about it?
Yeah, I one of the things that I absolutely want to see is that heated discussion between Picard and Starfleet Command, possibly even the Federation President, where he tells them to go pound sand because they're doing the wrong thing. And my current theory is that the secret mission is actually going to be Picard taking things off script, ships and crews off script, to go and save Romulans, even though the Federation ordered him to return, and he's not going to do it the way that they said. And I don't think that the whole him retiring in protest is going to happen exactly the way that the public maybe alludes to. I think that maybe they kick his ass out because they didn't want to destroy his credibility because he's the great Jean-Luc Picard, but I think that's the secret mission. And I think that issue also tanks Raffi's career as well. Maybe that's why she doesn't like him, and maybe several other people's careers. Just a speculation, but I do think that we're going to see some kind of confrontation between him and Starfleet Command in the 3rd episode for sure, during that flashback episode, which is going to be great. I can't wait to see it.
I agree with you, mainly because in the very first episode when he was getting interviewed, and the interviewer was talking about how they weren't going to evacuate him, he said, but I can be very convincing, making me think that was like a kind of under his breath, like he did something extra on top of that. And that, because then it led into, why did you actually leave Starfleet? So I think that was kind of like sort of like when he said under his breath that it was no longer Starfleet. I think that was another little hint that in between there was something that he did.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, it's something else. I said a Black Ops mission we've heard mentioned. I think something else is going to happen then, be revealed. And maybe that's why Starfleet also aren't too happy with Jean-Luc. It's not only just the fact he basically said, they're evil on network television. It's kind of what he did say. So I reckon there's something else going on there. And I think we are potentially going to see a version of that in episode 3. But also, speaking more about episode 3, I think it's implied now that Hugh is going to return. We've seen through the trailers. And also, I think there was an exclusive clip in the Ready Room, or one of the many things that comes out, but revealed, obviously, Jonathan Delarco is back as Hugh. Looks fantastic. And he appears to be working with Soji Asher. How do you pronounce that name? And he's serving as like the executive director of the Borg Reclamation Zone, which again brings back to that earlier discussion of who actually is in charge of this Reclamation Zone. But yeah, do you guys have any thoughts on Hugh being back, and particularly what he's doing with the Borg Cube and also the Romulans at the minute?
Well, I mean, he would be the perfect candidate to help lead that. Him and Seven would be the perfect candidates to help assist with the rehabilitation of former Borg drones. Obviously, they would be the foremost experts probably within the Federation to do that. So it makes sense that they would be involved. But there's definitely something else going on. And what that is still very much eluding me. As much as I try to theorize and think about it, there's an element to this that I don't think we'll be able to actually guess without more information from these episodes. Not until at least the 4th or 5th episode until we find out what's going on.
Yeah, that's
now
after you, Brie.
Oh, I was gonna say I do agree that Hugh is working with them. I don't think Seven is on the Borg cube though. I don't think she's in assistance with this. In fact, I think she's going to be more on the side of knowing more about this real situation with the cube than maybe everyone else is, and that's why she sought out Picard. I think she's more on the side of I don't like what's going on here and maybe knows a little more, but I do agree Hugh is definitely working in some kind of like we said, he's some kind of overseer, but I, again, just like you, have no idea what he's doing. It's beyond me.
It's interesting, and I can't wait to see, obviously, Jonathan Delarco back as Hugh. It's the last time we saw him was in the Next Generation episode Descent, which was over 30 years ago, I think. Yeah, 30 years ago, roughly. It was a long time ago, put it that way. So seeing him back on screen is great, and I love the new look they've given him. For those wondering, you can check out our video on the channel. I won't bring it up here, as it might be a bit too spoilerish, but his new look from Picard is great, and I love how you can see his character has evolved since we saw him in the Next Generation. He's not just come back as he was. Instead, you can see he's evolved in the 20 years, etc. So yeah, I'm liking it. A lot of people are speaking about 7 of 9, yet we know she's a part of the Fenris Rangers, so that's something to consider. And according to information, they're a type of like, almost like the Maquis in a way, or Maquis, I don't know how you pronounce them again. You guys know?
The Maquis.
There we go. That's you've got that one. So I believe her group's some sort of like that, and apparently she's been keeping the peace on what is the neutral zone, or what's left of it, apparently. So I think we'll learn more about her. I don't expect we'll see her in episode 3. Unlikely. But I don't know. It's a tough one.
I think she'll be the end of the episode. I think that'll be the cliffhanger.
Could be.
I think that's how they'll probably end the clip, because it seems like the last few times they've ended it with conversation. Well, the very first one, it was the zoom out, but before the zoom out was that conversation that left you hanging of what's going to happen between those two. And then the end of the second episode, it was Narek and his sister. It was what's going to happen with those two. I think at the end of this one, it's going to be Seven and Picard, and it's going to be what's going to happen with those two.
I think
just like you were saying, the beginning patterns, I think the endings have patterns too.
That could make sense. So like, at the end of the episode, we're introduced to who the next episode is going to focus on.
Because we did it with Raffi too.
Yeah. So we know episode 3.
Like we never met her. We just saw her invite him in.
But she did like the wine, apparently. That's one thing. I love the detail that's gone into the wine. That's really important.
It's the exact same bottle. Like, we paused it. We looked. It is the exact same bottle. The wrapping at the top.
Here we go.
Oh, I know. Mine's in my wine cooler because I'm like very much trying to save it well. But it is the exact same. The color of the seal at the top, the label on it. It's like they grabbed one and used it as a prop, basically.
At 100k subscribers, TC will buy a crate for that. You can now hold that to
Yes.
me.
Yes.
Here we go. Just taking a quick one to answer some questions from the chat. Hello to Katie and all of you who've tuned in. Thank you very much. We are doing these weekly Star Trek Picard episodes discussions, so tune in every Sunday around about 2100 hours GMT to tune in and discuss the latest episode of Picard. We'll be back next Sunday. But thank you to everyone who's tuning in so far. It's great seeing some of you from Twitter and the Trek Central community. Great for you. So someone says, what have we got here? Please see him, he's not a lot of people speaking about Fenris Rangers. Yeah, I have a feeling we are going to see a lot more of them, and I hope we see Seven of Nine, going together with a group. I mean, we still got that great shot from a trailer of Seven dual wielding the phase rifles shooting up a bar. What she has at that bar, man, I don't know. Also, very Halo vibes from that rifle for some reason. But it's a good scene. Hopefully, we see more of it there. Someone just said, Leon said, only 900 USD for a Creative Picard wine. I've opened my mouth and said something I shouldn't have, but.
Yep.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, that's almost $1 per.
The crates
yeah,
look good.
Yeah.
The crates look good, okay?
It's crazy.
Maybe not. We'll see. Maybe they're selling it in Vegas when we get there for Star Trek Las Vegas. That'll be an interesting one.
They probably will be.
Twice the price, probably.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's going to be resale value, which is going to be way higher price.
What's weird with the wine is they only ship to the US, but it's made in France anyway, so it's like it has to go through the UK to get to the US. Can we not just stop off at Heathrow? I'll unload it and drive off there, Problem solved.
I was going to say the only thing I can think is that maybe it's aged in California, but then I remember it saying bottled and somethinged. I think it was bottled. Yeah.
Nick might know.
Bottled and somethinged at, I can't pronounce it. Bordeaux?
Bordeaux? Isn't it what it was? I don't know.
So yeah, it's
the X, isn't it?
Bordeaux,
they don't.
Oh, okay.
Bordeaux. Yeah.
France.
Head on.
Yeah.
That's where it's. So it's a product of France.
Okay.
But it is imported into Sonoma
Napa
County.
Yeah.
And then I think that's where they're actually bottling it. I think that's where they're doing the bottling piece. So it's very strange.
They're bottling. Where did you say?
Sonoma, which is like Napa Valley, California.
Bit of an odd one. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's probably explains why they only ship to
our
the US.
wine country.
Yeah, that's our Bordeaux.
Yep.
God damn it!
It's nice out there.
Speaking about, you can actually visit the set of Chateau Picard in the show, which is the Sunstone Winery just outside of LA, I believe, and you can actually go and visit there. So it's like, damn, let's take a trip there someday. It'd be great to walk it, just bring my dog along. And number one, it's away with the whole place.
They actually have a website where you can go and book for weddings and venues and stuff like that. So if anybody's getting married anytime soon, there it is. So
not sure if you can get Patrick Stewart to turn up, but good luck.
I mean, the invite wouldn't hurt. So
well,
just an invite to everyone will hurt.
I saw something on Twitter in the week of someone who'd sent a handwritten letter to Gates McFadden, who played Dr. Crusher.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah, and
when they were a kid,
and she wrote back to him.
Cute.
It's like, in this day and age, you probably wouldn't get that, to be honest. Nobody writes handwritten letters anymore. Thank you to Amir, who's done it again. It says, isn't the Doctor from Voyager a holographic synth? Yeah, this is a big discussion. I suppose we could talk about this. He is an emergency medical hologram. Therefore, by classification, I guess that is a synthetic form of life in a way. What do you guys think on the Doctor?
So I thought that was really interesting too, because even in the first episode, when the holographic Matrix walked him around and had at least a little bit of personality, because they made she made the joke, so that's why I was like, okay, if they're stopping AI research into synthetics, either they've toned down severely the abilities of holograms, or I don't know. My only assumption is that they've toned down just how much a hologram can do, because I think that same argument could be made for the Doctor.
It's an interesting one, because as we know what happened to the first EMH, because I think the Doctor he was an EMH Mark 1, but because he was on Voyager for so long, his program got upgraded. We saw the EMH Mark 2, and we saw them attempting to make the Mark 3 and DS9. The Mark 1s are regulated to mining dilithium and stuff like that. So it's Starfleet, a lot of people say, why is Starfleet letting androids build ships and stuff like that? It's like, they're not really as perfect as you see them. And someone on Twitter tweeted this out as well, all the time the Starfleet admirals are basically done dodgy stuff. It's like, you've got Admiral Dougherty, it's like, well, no, we're just going to move this entire group of people. And you've got Cartwright doing stuff like that. It's like, well, they're not as good as you think.
Yeah, and that's the holograms. I mean, I think it was the episode where the Doctor writes that holo novel, right?
I think it was.
And he distributes it to the holograms, and they're all like, oh yeah, you gotta see this hologram, or this holo novel, man. And then it gets passed around. They obviously have like there's obviously some level of intelligence that I think they had to have toned down after the synth attack, because that's, I don't know, that's like an uprising waiting to happen.
It is a very thing, like a technological uprising biting you in the back end, basically. I mean, I don't think the Federation has experienced that on a massive scale before. I mean, we always see, like, you know, technology not going as planned on Star Trek, but a big, massive uprising, that is something that's, you know, wow, we have not seen that before, so...
And I think that might even be what scared the Zhat Vash so much to put them into some form of hiding, that, or like, you know, whatever that situation is, because they've obviously something to do with AI.
Yeah.
There had to have been in the past some crazy AI or technological just takeover that caused them to do this and then be so quiet about it that no one thinks they even exist.
Well, my theory on that is that because they've been around for thousands of years, my theory is that, and the Vulcans and Romulans have had space travel for quite a while, a long time. My theory is that they were responsible for creating the Borg.
Ooh, I do like that idea, because that even cycles back to how the Borg and...
Right, exactly. It got way
and
out of
the
control.
AI.
Yep, and they're like, oh shit, we can't ever let that happen ever again. So now we're going to try to dismantle all artificial intelligence to prevent that from occurring.
That is the best theory I think I've heard out of anyone so far, and I didn't like it ties so closely into so much of the other stuff we've been talking about. I think I'm calling it there. That's it. That's it. That's the story. We figured it. That's the tweet. That's it.
That's the T.
That's the T. That's
creating
it. Now
the
they're going to bring the... Right, there we
Because
go.
in the book,
our stream's gonna get shut down. The stream's gonna get shut down. It's gonna say technical.
Alex Kurtzman wants to know your location.
yeah. CBS is at my door. Let me in.
So, you know, you just get a tweet from.
No, that's honestly that makes so much sense now that you say it. That the Zhat Vash created the Borg, because there's not been any true lore outside of it was a comic, a book, or the
books
game?
which explored it, I believe.
They explored that it was some kind of AI
in the Destiny trilogy. Dom is in the chat, so you up with
I don't think you guys want to go down that route.
I'll synthesize it. In a Destiny trilogy, there was a species that existed in the cloud, shall we say, for a better lack of a word, but apparently created a Borg. They lived in city ships. It got a bit confusing. The Titan ended up there. The Enterprise ended up there, and also the NX-02 ended up there.
The most important, the craziest part. You have the NX-02.
Oh yeah, that's it. I love the NX-02.
Yeah, it traveled in time, then wound up getting stuck in the city in the clouds. Then they all wanted to escape. Some of them did, some of them didn't. Then some of them that escaped got thrown across the quadrants in time as well. And then the people that eventually landed there, both the city people and the NX-02 crew, molded together into what became the Borg.
That sounds dodgy as hell.
Crazy, convoluted.
That's why I think that's
idea.
not. Yeah, that's why I'm pretty sure that
DS9,
your theory is going to be damn right.
DS9 found the NX-02 in one of the books. They found the NX-02 in the Gamma Quadrant, of all places it could have ended up. I think it started in the beta, ended up in the Gamma after doing, like, you know, the loop-de-loop of the entire galaxy by the end. It's like, you read through this... I will say, we are joking, but Destiny Trilogy is a very good Star Trek book novel. If you do want to read it, I highly recommend it. I've enjoyed it before, but it is a little bit confusing at times. But yeah, I don't imagine them doing anything like that. But Vulcans, Romulans, Zhat Vash creating the Borg, that's an interesting storyline.
And that's why as soon as he said it, I was just like, wait just a dang second. That fits it too well. That fits it too well.
Ketwolski,
I know, I'm like, he's over there in the corner, like, shoves the script. No, I swear I don't know anything.
Yeah, that's it. My name actually isn't Ketwolski, it's Alex Kurtzman.
It just puts on the beard. It's, you know, just puts on the beard.
Yeah. That's it.
It would explain a few things.
It would. It would explain a lot.
I did see a tweet from
especially for them to never even make it known that they exist. That would even solve your complaint of why have we never heard about them before, especially if they went into such deep hiding, because if you create the Borg, the last thing you want is for anyone to know that you even existed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then you're going to spend an inordinate amount of time trying to correct that.
Cover it up. Yep.
And it may not even necessarily have been that they were in hiding in plain sight. It could have very well been that they were off in the Gamma Quadrant or any
fixing or trying to fix things,
trying to destroy in the Delta Quadrant, trying to get after the Unimatrix and all that stuff, trying to find it, and then
definitely
they couldn't, they couldn't get rid of it, so they tried to prevent it from happening again. That's That's definitely a strong possibility for sure.
So Dan23 brings up a good point there, and I rewatched the episode Dragon's Teeth from Star Trek Voyager recently. 709 mentions in the episode that the Borg, they don't think they remember the origins, but it was something from 900 years ago. They were fragmented, so they don't remember where they came from 900 years ago, essentially. So 900 years ago could connect with when Vulcans left, or when Romulans left Vulcan. I'd have to fact check over some dates and timelines, and Don might be able to help this as well. But if you rewind Borg history back 900 years to when Romulans split from Vulcans, there could potentially be a connection there or something. But yeah, that's interesting because the Borgs.
It was further back.
Was it further back?
The schism was further back. Well, because it's a weird thing, right? Because when they left Vulcan, it's wildly different time periods from when they arrived and set up their settlement on Romulus. Because there was a period of time post Sundering where they spent time, going through the quadrant trying to build themselves, and then different groups kind of went off into different things. And so the timelines definitely are murky there, but it was further back than that. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Borg would necessarily, maybe they only remember that part, but it could have been much older than that as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting discussion to have. I can't wait to see where the story goes, to be honest. There's a lot of stuff going on in Picard right now. It's like, wow. You're right, the Borg were in an episode of Enterprise where they were crashed from First Contact, so it's like they weren't technically the origins. I know I was reading into a bit of Enterprise Season 5 and what the writers and developers wanted to do with it. Apparently, Enterprise could have explored some sort of Borg origin story where one of the first humans, or one of the first Borg queens could have been a human, etc. That's something I was looking at, but it obviously never got made, so you kind of have to take it with a pinch of salt. It could have been interesting. I wish Enterprise had continued, to be honest. I mean,
I wish so too.
I've got faith of a heart for it, so.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't agree with the intro song. My brother makes me listen to it every single time we watch it, and it just
good man.
It's been
at least the first one's better than the second version. I will give it that. Second one can go in a pit and just never be heard again.
Yes, the first version is good.
The first one I can at least stand a little.
I don't know if we discussed this last time, me and Nick, but did we discuss the theme tune of Picard? Did we discuss that or not?
We did a little bit.
Yeah. Brie, did you have any thoughts on the theme of Picard?
I love it. I personally love it. I was in choir and I've played instruments my whole life, so I really like the orchestral. I really like the orchestral style a lot more. As you can see, I was not a fan of Faith of Heart. I don't like the more. I really liked the soft opening, and I really appreciated that in the very end of it, they even had a callback to the original theme song. I think it was very well done, personally.
I'm noticing that through a lot of the music for Picard at a minute, and Jeff Russo's doing a fantastic job of composing it. I believe the soundtrack.
The Romulan thing, it made my hair stand on end on the very first episode when I heard the Romulan theme song. I was like,
you just
great.
know that when Riker and Troy
you know what's happening.
They're going to have the same sort of themes as well. You can just hear it. And when you turn up to Starfleet HQ, you have that traditional Federation Starfleet music. And it's like, I love how they're incorporated. They're not just like forgetting the past, etc.
No, not at all. They're just they're not carbon copying it, which is what I like. They're giving it a new vibe, and it is like it's a different theme of the show than the previous Star Trek. So to give it a more like some of the music, a lot more of an orchestral feel, it fits the show a lot more than some of the more powerful scores they've done.
I will say, for some people saying about the soundtrack when it releases, apparently according to Dom, it released on February 7th. I will say, though, as me and Nick found out, the soundtrack name titles, I don't know if these are going to be modified, but so far the lists online at the minute do contain spoilers for the whole series. I wouldn't read it if I were you, as it does contain some spoilers. Obviously, read it your own, if you want to, but take it from my advice, don't read it.
I don't want to. Yeah. I really don't want to.
It may change
I didn't
for
even
release,
watch
but...
this. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't even watch normally. I did on the first one, but I didn't watch what's coming up for episode 3 on the second. I just try not to watch them, but I don't care about like our discussions and stuff. But I don't like to see what's going to happen or like read what's going to happen specifically.
It's honestly,
it almost gives.
What I was gonna say is the names are written in a way that seems almost too specific to what they would appear to be almost fake. It's like as if John Williams made the soundtrack. Force Awakens titled one of the songs "The Death of Han Solo."
Yeah,
or Han Solo being stabbed through the heart by his son Ben Solo, and then
oddly specific.
Yeah,
it could just be the working title.
It could be the working titles, but the thing is the working titles are way too they're like sentences. They're like specific oh yeah, here it is. Like, you guys had a theory. Here's the answer. Like, boom, here's the music for that particular thing. It's like, okay, that's a little crazy, a little specific, but I think it's accurate, which I agree with you, Jack. If you don't want spoilers, and this goes for you, Brie, and anybody, like if you don't want spoilers for what happens, I read it, and I'm kind of regretting the fact that I did, because it definitely spoiled some things for me personally. So just keep
I will
that
steer
in mind.
clear.
Yeah, steer clear of it. If somebody's sharing it, if you see it at all or any reference to it, it's a very long list.
Okay.
Just steer clear.
I'm hoping it's fake titles that someone just went in with an editing tool, their own stuff. I don't know.
I think it's pretty accurate.
Dang it! I was really hoping that it wasn't ruining things for people.
Yeah, I would say just avoid it for a minute. I don't know when it's going to get
Yeah.
released. I will double check and we'll tweet some information when it's released. But at the minute, if you go looking for it, I would just avoid it. Hopefully they might change it, and I really hope they do, or at least just name it like track 2 to 20 for a minute, and then update the names afterwards. That could be a good idea, and I'm sure you can do it with iTunes as whatever these days. So yeah, Geordie's a villain. Spoiler. Yeah, the Ford is behind the whole thing. After you.
That I wanted to bring up, and maybe real quick, if you guys want to talk about this. I didn't get this at all personally, but I saw a few comments on some of my videos where people brought this up, where they thought that the fact that when Zhaban lists off the people that can help Picard, he lists off Riker, Worf, and LaForge. And he does not list off Crusher, because we don't really know the fate of Crusher just yet, but I think she'll be back. But he doesn't list off Troy, and some people were saying that it was a sexist thing. Why is it that for this adventure he would only list off the male characters from TNG and none of the female characters from TNG? I didn't get that personally.
Right.
I took it as this is a dangerous mission, and Crusher's a doctor, and we don't necessarily need one, and Troy is an empath who isn't really good in a combat situation.
Yeah.
I didn't take it as a sexist thing, but did you guys? Was that something that you
I
guys
didn't take it as a sexist
I
thing.
I didn't take it any way either.
I'll explain my reasoning behind it as well. We kind of encountered this. We released a video a while back about the Enterprise E and who may be in command, before we've obviously got the hints that Worf might be in command of it by 2381. And then I basically disregarded that Troy or Crusher could be in command. And it wasn't a sexist thing. However, one, Crusher's a medical doctor, only in very dire circumstances, and you guys probably being from military backgrounds yourself might confirm that, the CMD will only take command if most of the senior staff, even the junior guys, are completely out of action. The CMD doesn't typically take command. But also Troy wouldn't take command because she's not in the command chain. She's outside of it. So it's like, I don't think he mentioned them because they're not command level officers in a way. I mean, I know they did the program where they got commander, but it's not the sort of thing where you think, I need a tactical mission. Let's take the empath with me. It's,
right.
I mean, I personally wouldn't say it's sexist. I just say it's mentioning those who typically served with him on the ground in the hardest missions. I know Troy and Crusher did, but I wouldn't class it sexist. But I don't know. It's a discussion to be had, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I can think of why they wouldn't have mentioned Crusher is like everyone keeps making the joke she's dead, but I mean, you never know. I mean, it could be something that gets brought up, and that is because we were all expecting LaForge to be the one who died. So maybe there is a character that passed away, but it's just not who we expected. So I think
I was going to say earlier on, when we learned obviously Picard has a syndrome, and or supposedly has it. What if he needs a special doctor by episode 10? That is Beverly, and they're waiting to there.
That's true.
Could be a good ploy, couldn't it?
Yeah.
I don't think she's dead though. I don't think it would be a very ballsy move
right.
to kill off anyone.
Think so. Yeah, but it was just another reason that maybe that she couldn't have, like she wasn't, and maybe in the future they're going to reference it. I'm just trying to think of something.
Yeah,
I think your theory was a lot better. The command structure 1 and 2 combat situation, and we already have a doctor. But I know that's like not something. It's just that written into the show there is already a doctor. So I think that is
what people are saying. Obviously, in the final episode of the Next Generation, it should be worth noting in the final episode that was a possible future in the anti-timeline or anti-time timeline. That's a bloody mouthful. It was a possible future. So I think take it with a pinch of salt. I don't expect everyone to be in the same positions as they were supposedly seen in All Good Things. That was kind of like a possible future. Obviously, it's kind of given to us so far that Riker and Troy have somewhat retired to start a family from Starfleet. It's not implied there. Like Ketwolski's waving to me, so we'll divert to him.
You just said something that sparked this thought into my mind, which is, right, she was a captain in that timeline.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing that I think that a lot of people have forgotten about, which I kind of forgot about until just right now,
You
is
say
that
married?
no,
Oh, okay.
is that Picard is the only character that remembers those timelines.
Mm-hmm.
The rest of them don't remember it because he was the only one that experienced it with Q, and he recalls what it was like to ask Beverly to go against Federation rules and to ask Admiral Riker at the time to go against Federation rules, and a governor, I think it was Governor Worf, to go against Federation or Klingon rules to jeopardize themselves to try to help him figure out a mystery. He remembers exactly what that was like and how serious and dangerous that was. And that explains why he was against calling them in to begin with, because he's already done it, even though everybody else doesn't remember the fact that he did it. But even if Beverly was on board, as she was a captain of, say, a medical ship, just like she was in All Good Things, yeah, that's true. But he's already done that thing, and he understands how difficult and how serious it was to put her in that situation. He may not want to do it again. So I just wanted to throw that back out.
That's
there.
a very good thought. I like that, because obviously Picard's seen a possible future. So what if he is chosen? I mean, at the end of All Good Things, you kind of see him make a choice to be different in a way, because he sits down with a crew and finally plays poker with them, essentially. He possibly could have just changed the entire timeline there. And I think it's implied as well that, although he's seen the future, he can make a conscious choice to change it. So that's a very large discussion. You can get very confused with timelines. But it's a very good thing to bring up. Yeah. And apparently Dom says, I don't want to do that again. So yes, it could be true, but he saw that time and didn't want to do it, therefore everything's possibly changed now. Time operates very weirdly in any sci-fi series, particularly Star Trek. How he didn't get the Temple of Investigations or whatever they were called. Surely they would have had a word at that point.
That's something about it, yeah, seriously.
Apparently they don't like the time jokes from DS9. So yeah, I think that kind of rounds us up today. Do you guys have any finishing notes on episode 2 or what's going on for episode 3?
I don't have any finishing notes. I am just excited to see the next episode, and I literally am chomping at the bit for the next one, which is great for the creators, I think, for them to hear that, because I think I'm not alone to say that. I think
no, you're not. I basically watch the episode every day leading up to the next episode that comes out, because it's like the wait, I don't know, it's been so long since I've had to wait for episodes of Star Trek to come out, because even with Discovery, I didn't start watching Discovery until season 3, I think, or season 3 is out, right?
No, 2
had already
Discovery season 2.
2. Then after season 2 had already completed is when I actually started watching Discovery, so I didn't have to wait each week for it to come out. So this is the first time in a very long time that I've had to do that. So I'm just like, every day I'm just like, dang it, new episode, please. I'm really excited. I think that they've done a really good job with making people get caught up in it.
Yeah, I agree.
There was a big discussion over whether it's good to drop a whole season and binge watch it like The Expanse does. I highly disagree.
I would have been done I would have stayed up at 1 a.m. when it came out, and I would not have gone to sleep until about 2 p.m. my time, and then I would hate myself.
I did that with The Expanse.
And I'd spoil things for everybody.
I don't think binging content's... I like binging content to a degree, but for this type of stuff where there's a big mystery to solve, I like watching it over weeks. It also gives you something to look forward to as well. My weeks go faster because I'm looking forward to Thursdays now where I can watch Picard. So it's like, yes, give me more. The final couple of weeks.
They've got me staying up till the wee hours of the morning so I can watch it when it airs. I'm sure there's plenty other people who are the same boat.
I'm very lucky, but when it releases on CBS All Access at 8 a.m. in the morning for me, so it's like, it's a pain to get out of bed, but it's not as bad as staying up to 3, 5 a.m, etc. That would be a pain.
You can always binge it later, That's the other thing. And that's to binge it.
Yeah, and that's kind of why I wish I had maybe watched Discovery as it was airing, is because when I did binge it the first time, I got lost in so much, and I had to go back and watch it all a second time, and then I was like, oh, I missed that, or I missed that, because I was like binge. It was like episode after episode after episode. I was too worried about watching the next one and what happens overarching that I'd miss the littler things that I get by going back and watching the same episode 4 or 5 times in preparation for episode 2 or 3 or 4.
Oh, for sure. So a quick one to everyone in the chat, by the way. I want to know your rating out of 10, as we all for Star Trek Picard Episode 2. So I think we did this last week, and the average was around about 7 to 8 to 9, I think. I can't remember off the top of my head. But feel free to type in the chat now any number between 1 or 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the absolute worst Star Trek you've ever seen. Please don't do that. Comment in the chat now. Tell us your honest opinions. While that happens, I do have the delight to announce that Trek Central has just passed 40,000 subscribers now. So as the cat comes on screen over there.
Kitty! Hello!
Okay, Delilah. Thank you.
Aw.
Thank you, Princess.
So Trek Central just hit 40k subscribers, which is of course a massive number. Thank you to everyone who's supported the channel so far. We're on course for our yearly goal of 50k subscribers, which at this rate might be by the end of Picard of any luck. So thank you so much to everyone who's done that. That's amazing to see, to be honest. Someone just reminded me of that as well. But so the average score in the chat at the moment, I'm seeing a lot of 8s and a lot of 9s.
I am seeing a lot of 8s and 9s.
A few 6s, a few 7s. It seems like this is a very strong episode. Definitely, I'm going to say a lot of 8. I think 8 out of 10 is the average one, I'm saying. Dom says 40,000 out of 10. That's alright.
That's cheating, Dom.
That's cheating. So first episode 8 out of 9, second of 7. Not a fan of profanity, but rest. That's, profanity. I think we can discuss it next week, actually, as that would be a good discussion to have, profanity in Star Trek, because I think that's a very active one that's become, available. But yeah, it looks like the average score for this episode is 8 out of 10. Brie and Nick, would you agree? 8 out of 10?
Yeah. I would say 8.5 to 9. I liked it, but I think it's with as absolutely jaw-dropping as the first episode was. Anything that comes after is gonna be hard, because the first episode was just so phenomenal, and I think that's where a lot of the 8 and 9 is coming from, versus everyone was like 10 out of 10 for the first episode, because it was just such a powerfully strong first. It was in my opinion, the best season or series opening of any Star Trek ever.
Yeah, I think
that's
people
why
are riding off of that hype
way.
essential. So it's like that hype brought everyone back to 10. Now we're seeing almost a lot of people commenting on them being on Earth. So this is like the filler episode in a way. It's building up that world again. Episode 3 might be the final part of that, and then they're going like a bat out of hell. We're getting this, everything's progressing along nicely. So yeah,
right.
A lot of people saying best premiere. I'd agree. Episode 1 caught me. It caught everything about Picard. Episode 2 continued to do that world building. I mentioned this in my review. Episode 2 was a lot of world building, which is needed. We are in a new modern version of Star Trek. Yes, we know everything from Nemesis, etc. that's happened before. We know what state roughly the galaxy's in. This is still 20 years later. World building needs to be done. I think you guys would agree with that as well.
I agree with that. Yeah,
I do.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Well, if that is everything, I think we're going to end off here. We've been going for about an hour and a half now, so thank you to everyone for tuning in. We talk a lot during these discussions, but hopefully everyone enjoyed it. You voiced some of your opinions as well. Don't forget, we'll be back next week, every Sunday, discussing episode 3. Which looks to be a very good episode. Hopefully we get to learn more about Raffi. We see Admiral Jean-Luc Picard and the Millennium uniforms. Maybe a Verity at one point, but one can wish.
Yeah, maybe a Verity.
We'll be back at 9 p.m. GMT every week for Star Trek Picard with brand new guests and everything like that, discussing It's Going to Be Good. Thank you very much for myself, Captain Jack. I've also been joined by Brie, our special guest, and my regular host, Nick Ketwolski. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. You can follow these two. I'll put their Twitter links down below, and also it was on Twitter as well, so feel free to go follow Ketwolski and Brie. I've been Captain Jack. Thank you for watching, and we'll, of course, see you very soon. Goodbye.